1 each way, so it's still 80 trips in 52 weeks. Granddaughter?
Hey, Sean.
Monday in New Jersey. He was up at Christmas time. Yes, it wasn't planned.
Sorry. I'll let Ed explain that later. That's before your time, Linda. And Ed, you promised me I was the only guy. Just some brief introductions. If you'll stand up when I call your name. We have, of course, Ed Preti, the alpha male. Just a couple introductory remarks. I'm sure that you, just like I, feel fortunate to be in the midst of greatness this evening. We have amongst us a truly Renaissance man, a person of considerable talent in many areas. Professionally has demonstrated to be a man of wisdom, leadership, and vision. His Pratt Whitney career spanned 4 decades, the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. He's been a part of every Pratt Whitney military engine program since F-100. He's been a pioneer in digital engine controls and computer graphics. He helped develop the jet engine industry's first combined steady state and transient simulation. He delivered that first simulation to Arnold Engineering Development Center for the Air Force as part of the FX competition, which later became the F-100. Personally, he's a loving and caring father. He has a good fortune to be married to a beautiful and successful woman. He is demanding, yet compassionate, serious yet witty, individually talented, yet the consummate team player. Most importantly, he's never too busy to help a friend. I promise myself over. So enough about me. Let's get on with the, it's here to celebrate Ed Preti finally retiring. We're very fortunate tonight to have many distinguished guests, and I know they've taken time out of their busy schedules to come pay tribute to Ed in their own unique way. The first person that has been so gracious to visit with us is Mr. Hanson Tooks. Hanson, can you come on up, please?
Thank you and good evening. Bennett didn't give me a script, so I have to speak from the heart tonight. I'd like to, I know there'll be a lot of little jests put out towards Ed tonight. I would just like to be serious for a couple of minutes and say thank you to Ed for a number of things. Ed used to always come by my office and try to indoctrinate me to the Florida operations, to the Florida people, to the Florida spirit, and I really always enjoyed that. And I also would be very concerned about engine performance. By the way, Ed not only touched just the military engines, but his fingers on all the engines that Pratt has deployed today, and for that we all thank him. He's really a Pratt man, a Pratt individual, and the first thing I'd like to present to Ed, if he would come up, would be yes, that. Ed, bring my glasses so I can read it. As he walks up, it says, "To Ed Preti, in recognition of your many contributions to Pratt & Whitney from the Florida senior staff." And this is an emblem. We went out to try to really find something he would feel that is significant. And it's a Pratt emblem circa 1940 that went on all of the recip engines, and it's a real gem, just like you are. The second gift is I don't know why we're giving this to him, because I happen to have the opportunity to watch him play golf. On behalf of all of the Florida family, we present to you an Odyssey putter, and I'm sure there's a real Odyssey to go along with it. Congratulations, and thank you for your friendship. By the way, the listening table told me even more than you, don't talk long, sit down and get on with it. Thank you.
Told me he's not handsome, but I disagree. Our next invited guest is Johnny Boy Davis. Johnny's from somewhere in the South. I'm not sure why it's Johnny Boy, probably distinguished from his sister. But in any case,
I tell everyone that I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. At least it's in the same country. Good evening, Ed. Good evening.
I'm taking notes, Johnny.
I know you are. I just wanted to remind Hansel that we're here at this place tonight, and Pratt Whitney rules do not necessarily apply to what we do here. But I want you also to know that whatever Bob Polak does when he gets up here, I had nothing to do with it. Ed, just to let you know the format tonight, I'm the designated easy roaster. So whatever I do, it's going to be worse later. I guarantee you it'll get worse. Before we begin, I need your cooperation, Ed. Would you please stand up? Linda?
I tie her up with
Thank you, Linda. Actually, Ed, you can take it off. It's just a little joke. We know that occasionally you speak out of turn. We were hoping that maybe that would help. We've got a great group here tonight. Look out, Ed. Look at all those people. Too bad that they got in free. There was 2 tickets bought. Jimmy bought one and I bought one. Okay, real quickly, I'm going to take everyone here through a little thing of Ed's life. I call it Just Ed. And let's see how this goes. Okay, everybody together. There's Ed. How old were you then, Ed? Do you remember? This is the first time that they let Ed out of his cage. And he's got his eyes on something. This is his first stuffed animal. I'm sure that he took care of that. Actually, Ed is giving a speech here. There's 3,000 people on the other side. And he's telling them that he wants to be director of PSA. The first leadership role, and the crew didn't show up. That is the merit pool that Ed had available at the time, and it's similar to the ones we have now. Again, Hansel, just kidding.
Oh my God, this is
the first time probably Ed ever prayed. And a good moment for him. This just shows that he does have another life. He does enjoy fishing. And the camera here wasn't too good, but we had a tough time coming up with a caption for this one. You can see that he sets the pace and dress.
Doing my white socks.
Got his white socks there, but I'm sure that was right with the times. You weren't very successful in breaking in the Navy business.
And we never had any Navy business again.
This right here is what caused us to go to business council. You can see the reason for the change. Actually, Ed looks quite handsome there. Years ago, when we didn't have colored badges and that type, you came in as an inmate no matter what. That's it, as he transitioned into his inmate status. I don't know if you can see it or not, but he's got a bullhorn there, which he probably wishes he had right now, so that he could go back at us. One of the captions we had for this is he was telling everybody if he got tired of Home Depot, he could go to other places like Costco and Sam's. I think that speaks for itself. This one I wanted to point out. Ed is not the highlight here. It's that Calvin Fleas in the background. Where are you, Cal? He's changed a lot. Oh, it takes a minute. When you go vertical, it has to flip. Ed will never be this skinny. But he's doing a good pose there. That's his uniform picture. Everybody goes through a uniform at some point in time. He's checking out the recipes for drinks, and apparently found them. And this is just Ed, just a good picture of Ed enjoying the keys. One of Ed's funnier moments. Okay, this is Burt Reynolds look-alike. And this is proof that Ed can actually move. That's what happens to you when you retire. You do weird things. Okay, a little bit of a story here. Ed, do you remember when we were in Mod 5, you came in one morning and you sat down for a little while and you kept smelling something?
Yeah.
And finally it got to the point that you had to call the facilities people, and what it turned out was that there was a dead rat up above his ceiling there. Go ahead, Ed, you want to say 4 of them? Well, okay, then that kills my story a little bit, but we captured one of them, and we have that rat here tonight. And here's that actual rat, Ed. It says on here, Harry Rodent, and he's got his own badge. Now, as we move on, before we leave the animals, another story. Now we're in Mod 6. Oh, In Mod 5, we had a similar incident, but the raccoons, of course, were alive, and we finally got them out. But we were able to capture one of those.
Whoops, sorry, y'all.
And this is Rocky Raccoon. And he's got his badge also. So Ed, could you come over and get these, please?
That is great.
Okay, there we go. Okay, 10 minutes is about up. This is an excellent picture. It shows Ed as a young man and how, I'm sure at the time, how precious he was to his parents. This is Proud Ed now with Linda, Chris, John, and Eddie. And if you didn't get to meet them, be sure to do so. And now, Ed says, this is the life. Linda says, speak for yourself. Just one parting comment, Ed. I just wanted you to know that we in PSA know who the real inventor is of systems integration. And we just wanted you to know that. May the best be yours, and may God bless you.
Thanks, John. Well, it's good to know that on those rare, cold Florida mornings when Linda goes off to work, you'll have something to cuddle up with now. Good luck. Ed's not the first person to retire from PSA, so we've invited back some of the previous retirees, maybe to just give Ed some hints and help along the way. So is Ralph Corey here? Stand up, Ralph.
I figured I would get that from Ed. Well, Ed, as someone who has retired before you, I'd like to welcome you into the real world of the retired. Those of us who have known you for years, we really marveled at the focus you've maintained, the foresight that you had. We know that you always set your goals high and you work hard to achieve them. In fact, some of us know that really your career started out in the world of rockets. You wanted to be a rocket scientist. A lot of people don't know that. You looked around and you really thought that this was the way to make it to the top. But you probably realized along the way that you weren't a rocket scientist. You realized that the top management came out of the ranks with gas jet engine experience. So you wanted to be just like them. So your career as a performance engineer began. And you did great. You were quick on the learning curve, and you moved right along. Well, let me tell you, being retired is tough. It's hard work, but we know you can handle it. We put together some do's and don'ts that I think might make your transition just a little bit easier. So I'd like to present those. Been retired for 3 years, picked up a few things, picked up some advice from other retirees. We've sort of put together these suggestions for you. The first thing that I really suggest to you, knowing how important your staff meetings were, that you continue to have your staff meetings. This is the thing that you'll probably miss the most. Now, those of you who don't understand, no words are sufficient to explain it to you. Those of you who do understand, nothing else is necessary. And I still have dreams, almost nightly, of your staff meetings. staff meetings. And what I suggest to do is that on any given morning, go down to Home Depot and you'll find enough Pratt Whitney retirees that you can call them together. I've arranged with a few of the service people at the counter, at the customer service counter, that whenever you come in on cue, they will get on the PA and say, let's round them up. Don't do it on Saturdays or Sundays. There's just too many Pratt Whitney people around. The best thing is with the retirees, Mondays through Friday. One of the things that you should continue to do, make sure you give each of the attendees an action item or two. And as usual, don't take any yourself. But I do need to warn you. I do need to give you a warning. If you start the meeting in the morning, make sure it's done by 11 o'clock a.m. Because at 11 o'clock, all the folks will be heading to Costco for the free samples. Speaking of Costco, whenever you go there around lunchtime, you'll want to take with you some kind of disguise. In fact, I've sort of helped you with the disguise. John, would you give this to Ed? Have him wear it. Now, the reason why this is important is because sometimes the people giving out the samples at Costco will look you over. Make sure you haven't been through there before. So you can go in as regular Ed, and then you can go in a second time, and with that you can almost have a good meal. Now if that doesn't work, you head on over to Sam's. Before the day is done, you'll be full. Another problem that you'll have as a retiree, it's called, commonly referred to as PWS. Pratt Whitney syndrome. And it's prevalent most with those people who have been employed for a long time at Pratt and then retired. One of the things that we'd like to do to help you get over this PWS is to give you this badge. John, could you give Ed this badge? It has your name on it. It says Ed Preti, Pratt Whitney retired, and it allows you to go through all stores. What we'd like you to do is anytime you start to feel like you have to go out to Pratt, put it on. Walk around. Go to Costco with it, go to Sam's with it, go down to the mall with it. It'll really make you feel good. But the other part of it is, on a daily basis, you want to snip a little bit off. Sort of like the patch. If you get down low enough, the addiction will be gone. There's another form of PWS which is even more serious than that. Some of the retirees have the urge to go back to Pratt as a consultant. Nobody can help them except a psychiatrist, so you don't have to avoid that. Here's another don't. Never get up in the morning and go into your car while you're still groggy. You'll find that the car automatically heads out for the beeline. On occasion, you can actually end up at the plant, and people will see you and start laughing. But what you tell them, make sure you have a good excuse. Oh, I was off to the credit union, or I was on the employees club, and they'll get you out of it. Here's a don't. Since you're retired and since Linda is still working, never, ever tell her what a hard day you had fishing. This won't work. She won't be sympathetic at all. Another thing to do is to keep dirty clothes at hand, and when you see the car pulling up, quickly put on those dirty clothes. At least let her think you've been doing something busy and important. Here's another do, and this is probably another very important. The manager at Publix, Mr. Carmine, you want to get to know him real close. Become friends with him. Because I've observed that you may be bagging groceries in a few years. of the things I suggest is to invite Mr. Carmine over to your staff meetings at Home Depot. And give him an action item or two. He'll like it. Make sure he understands what good delegation skills you have. And to get the feel of what real retirees look like. You know, you're young, you're like myself, and I always get it, oh, you're too young to retire. You'll get the same thing. In order to know what real retirees look like, you're going to have to attend a few of the matinee movies in the afternoon. You can wear the disguise and get a senior citizen discount. It will work. One other final piece of advice. Again, since you'll get the remark, oh, you're too young to retire, make sure you have a good excuse on hand. You want to end that conversation quickly, because explaining it to those who don't understand, they'll never get it. And in all seriousness, those of us who have worked for you and attended your staff meetings regularly, we worked with you for so many years, and we really do appreciate all that you have done, not just for the company, but for your employees. You always sought a good balance, and you achieved it. As the expression goes, you did good. Congratulations and best wishes in your retirement years. You're one of the best.
Thanks, Ralph. I never realized there's so much of this retirement thing. More complicated than we could possibly imagine. Our next invited speaker is John Mason. John?
Ever since Ed announced his retirement, I've had a lot of people ask me, why is Ed Preti retiring from such a cushy job? And I patiently explained it to each and every one. And I sort of got tired of it. So I figured if I told it to a big audience like this, maybe that would put it to bed. Before I tell you why Ed Preti retired, we need to go back a little bit in his career. Edmund, no middle name, no middle initial, Preti. Now, I met Mr. Preti Sr. tonight. I guess it was just hard trying to come up with names. If you had said, come up with Stephen, Edmund Stephen Preti, ESP. After send out notes, sign the ESP, people say, how'd you find out about such and such? Oh, I got it from ESP. Ed was always looking for that edge in his career. A little edge. He realized he missed the opportunity with his name. Any man that only has two names should both be first names like George David or Carl Thomas. But Ed, even in his early career, felt like I can get an edge. My name was just a little bit different. And so, early in his career, he wanted to be Clarence Preti. And then he realized later, if his name had been Clarence Hansel Preti, he could have covered CH's era, and he could have covered the present Hansel's era. And he went through these. Well, my name was Bert Preti, Ernie Preti, Carl with a K Preti. And then he finally hit the gold mine. He got a boss named Ed. saying, Ed would like to see the modular buildings in Florida. Poor old Hansel here, he thought he was talking about Ed Pratt. Ed also started expanding his empire, you know, grabbing up people from other departments. And he'd use a very similar tactic. He'd find a group of people that he wanted. He'd fire off a note to the director saying, Ed would like to see these people working together. Now, as I understand it, when Ed worked for Dr. Crow, he only had one stretch objective. Now, this used to embarrass Ed a little bit at times. Dr. Crow would be having a staff meeting, and he'd bring up the subject of stretch objectives. And of course, you know, people would start looking at their shoe tops, and looking at their watch and everything. And then Dr. Crow would say, well, my boy Ed here, he's the only one on target. The rest of you better get on the ball. If you need some help, see my boy Ed. Now, Preti asked Dr. Crow, are you sure that just having one stretch objective is enough? And Dr. Crow said, Ed, for you, one is plenty. It's very important. The objective you have and you're doing outstanding with, you keep that up and you'll continue to get the big bucks and big raises and bonuses every year. And not only is it important to me, it's important to Pratt Whitney. And Ed, you're so dependable with everyone. I open my email and zap, there it is, just like clockwork. And let me also say, Ed, in addition to being so important for Pratt Whitney, I always get great pleasure out of reading the Ed Preti Department monthly highlights report. Now, if a man with such a cushy job, why would he want to retire? Well, there were three factors that came into play. Ed woke up one morning, gets out of bed, goes over to his dresser, picks up his wallet, opens it and looks in it, and says, I've got plenty of money. Factor number one. Then he goes in the bathroom and he looks in the mirror and he stares and he says, not only do I feel old, I look old. I must be old. Factor number two. Then a couple of days later, the final factor. He's having a private discussion with Dr. Crow. And finally, Ed says the magic words. If you're not going to let me have my own module center, and to reduce shipping costs, be located in the Florida Keys, I'm going to retire. The day after Ed announced his retirement, I bumped into Linda and Ed in the cafeteria. I said, Linda, how in the world did Ed talk you into this? She said, Ed didn't talk me into anything. I'm still working. It's only Ed that's retired. I said, Linda, you mean after a hard day's work, Pratt Whitney, you have to go home and clean the fish that Ed caught that day? I recall Linda saying she wasn't going to clean your fish yet. Have you talked her into cleaning your fish yet? retirement? Do you use standard work? Now, Ed, you used to tell us how important it was to have standard work. And you said you needed it. If a new engineer came along, like you're a new retiree, they know the standard, proper way to do things.
Like you say, John, Linda doesn't listen to me, so who am I teaching standard work to?
Were you just lying to us? Yeah. Flat out lied about it. Do you have a lessons learned process? Do you emphasize customer satisfaction? Let me take everyone through a potential but hypothetical scenario in the Preti household. Linda gets home from work one night, goes in the house, goes in the kitchen, looks at the kitchen floor, and starts yelling. Edmund! Edmund! What you're back doing in the kitchen? So Ed has to put down his nativity cake. Goes in the kitchen. Yes, dear. Ed, just look at this floor. All you did today was mop. I want you to change your standard work. From now on, I want you down on your hands and knees scrubbing this floor. I want to see it shine. Remember, Ed, I'm the customer. You do want to keep me satisfied, don't you? Yes, dear. Okay, Ed, tonight after I retire, close the kitchen door so you won't disturb me. And after you finish the dishes, I want you on your hands and knees scrubbing this floor. I want to see it shiny in the morning. By the way, I need my red double-breasted pantsuit pressed for in the morning because I have an early morning meeting tomorrow. Bring my breakfast in at 7:05. That'll give me time to check this floor. And if it's not shining yet, I hope you've learned your lesson. If it's not shining, I'm going to have to give you more time. Now, Ed, you don't want more time, do you? No, dear. I didn't think so. You're already up to July 15th when you sleep with me again. Because of the speech patterns, many people think that Ed and I are both from New York. That's not true. I'm not from Brooklyn, New York. I'm from North Carolina. When I first met Ed, 30-some years ago, when he came to Pratt Whitney, first couple of times I saw him, he didn't make a big impression on me. Just another big mouth Yankee. But then one day he made a lasting impression. I'd gone over to Ed's department to talk to someone else. And I noticed Ed, he was sitting at his desk, leaned back in his chair, feet up on the desk, had some papers on the desk. And he'd pull off a piece of paper, he'd quickly read it, and he'd fold it into an airplane, and then he'd go across the room. Pull off another one, read it, another airplane. And my impression at the time was, anyone with such a love of aerodynamics is going to do well here at Pratt Whitney. And Ed did do well. My best description of Ed Brady's career, he was like a goldfish. Put a goldfish in a bowl, he'll grow to a certain size. Take him out of that, put him in a bigger bowl, he'll grow larger. And that's exactly what Ed Brady did when he was given increased responsibilities at Pratt Whitney. He grew larger. Ed was also a leader. He had a little unique leadership style. Let me try to describe it. There are some leaders who will say, soldiers, the enemy is on that hill, follow me, and we'll go take that hill. There are other leaders who would say, soldiers, the enemy is on that hill, go take that hill, and every day send me back morning stories about the enemy. And then there's the Ed Brady style. He would say, soldiers, the enemy is on that hill. Go take that hill, and don't worry about me. I'll be right behind you, chewing on your ass to inspire you. Ed, thanks for everything you gave to Pratt Whitney. Peace.
Thanks for getting us back on schedule, John. He's known as the PSA Energizer Bunny. Our next featured guest, I've never been sure how to pronounce his name. It's Polak. He's here. What is it? Bob. That's what we call him. What about Bob? Bob's here to do a special rendition of a Preti character.
Hi, Ed. How you doing? You got a choice on how to get it tonight. I got the buffalo wing index temperature for you. You can have it wimpy, warm, mild, medium, hot, afterburner, 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, or no mercy. Which would you like? No mercy, all right.
I think you'll get that anyway.
Yeah, that was a loaded question.
You could pick any. As most of you know, Ed is a professional smoker. Can you hear? No, you can't. Can you hear now?
Yes.
Good. He's not the weaselly, snivelly cigarette smoker. He's a pipe only, hard stuff. The real man smoker, right? Good. He was very popular during mosquito season, I had to know. Everybody huddled around him. Before Ben Koff finally got smoking out of the office, that was the good old days of sinuses and watery eyes and sore throats. Ed used to have his staff meetings in conference room 512. 512 is a very long room, attached very close to his old office, had it at a long table. The staff would gather around, and Ed would kind of amble in, roll back into his chair, pull out his pipe, and start playing with it. And he'd finally start, he'd reach down, and he'd say, "Morning, guys," and gal. He had one lady, by the way. And he'd slump down in his chair and pull out his pipe, and he'd sit there and he'd start packing it. He says, "Well, folks, what rumors going around today?" Nothing? Good. Let's get to the technical stuff. "Ramby, what did the 119 do last night? Did you ever get it fixed, or is it still messed up?" You know, after all I've told you, you have to put your foot down and tell those yahoos they're full of cow chips. You understand? I'll bet those booger brains are happier than a pig and poop since they got you around here. I'm telling you, you gotta go nose to nose with those ding-dongs, or they'll run right over you. Kind of like I'm doing to you right now. So he continues. Hey, Mikey. Hey, Mikey. Thanks for coming tonight. Appreciate it. I'm glad you could make my staff meeting today. I do hope you're not interfering with anything. We interfere with your track time, Mikey? Glad you could show up. Hey, Bob, you still with us? Hard night last night, Bobby, That's the comment that was made about his staff meetings. Some of us just kind of relaxed. Then he'd say, "Now that everybody's awake, it's PMR our time. We got to get all the supervisors aligned with the 13th new PMR 26-page format to come out this year from HR. So you might want to take notes. Key Raimonetti, they give new meaning to the word entropy. Now let's salute and get through this gator-infested swamp once and for all. First, I want to make sure that each of you get on with it. No second guessing, Amy. Second, Helen, is vitally important that if they don't do it, they get it right. And lastly, I'll fire anybody in this room who blabs. You better make sure that everybody knows it. Finally, never said it was going to. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts, no discussion. Got it? Good. Now go get them before they get us. And hey, be careful out there. Did I get it right? As Ed staff knows firsthand, he was the director who was always in the forefront when it came to supporting diversity. He was number one. He pushed diversity from the day he hired on. He made sure that everyone was treated with professionalism, courtesy, and dignity, bar none. It didn't make any difference if you were a new hire, you had 40 years experience, he treated everybody the same. But he never took the diversity class to learn how not to get his butt fired. In short, every now and then he would really screw up in big time. Linda, what's that shoe size?
12.
Oh, good. No, I'm not going there. Even though No Mercy has its limit. Ed was a cool talker, and he still is. And kind of hems and haws and ahs, he knows between every other word. And sometimes he would get so bad, he'd get a case of the fumble mumbles, and he just couldn't get the words out right. The coup de grace was when we had a town meeting several years ago, about 5 years ago. And he was introducing our new human resources representative, Kelli. His Honor Charlie. And Ed really wanted Charlie to feel at home. He really went out of his way. He knew Charlie was a nice guy, and he tried to give him a warm welcome in front of 200 highly trained, sensitive, diverse people who had also taken the diversity course. Now, us staff, we're always forced to sit on the front row. And we were nervous. And we kind of broke out in a cold sweat because this was out of character for Ed, because staff hadn't approved what he was going to say. So we kind of felt that Ed was a loose cannon on heavy skis. We knew nothing about it. We knew there was potential danger. Alan sat there with his mouth open. Jackson mumbled, "Holy blitz, here it is." Jerry was twitching and eyes were vibrating. And then it came. We couldn't stop it. He began by, "I want to introduce you to Charlie Wilson, our new HR representative. He's been with Pratt for 11 years, and you know, he's a fine, addition to our management team. And I know y'all enjoy working for Charlie, so feel free to go ask him any questions. He's certainly an outstanding individual. Charlie, could you stand up, please?" It was at this point that Ed started to get nervous because he ran out of good things to say. And finally, you saw his eyes change and he panicked. And he wanted to say something real good and solid for Charlie. And it came out as loud as the crack of number 70 this past year. And he didn't use a single "ah," he didn't use a single "you know," he didn't shuffle his feet, he didn't look down, he didn't do anything. And he blurted out, clear as can be, with no mumbling, he said, "As you can see, you can always pick Charlie out of a crowd." Jerry got the staff together and said, "Rain me." Yeah, I guess you know that there's those little hints that you get when it's time to retire. So I have the top 10 reasons why you know it's time. Most of these apply to you. So here goes. Number 10. You started referring to John St. Jock and Bill Thompson as kids. Late afternoon means you're getting ready for the early bird special instead of happy hour. You doze off while watching cable channel 99. Your idea of a vacation is spending 5 days straight on the third floor landing at the Jack Daniels distillery sniffing that number. Home Depot gave you your personal wheelchair with your initials on it. And the old ladies call you hot pants and you like it. Number 4, you received your first free sample of Depends from June Allison. You've achieved financial independence, and they're still working. You use Grecian Formula 16 on all your body hair. And you now use Viagra to keep yourself from rolling out of bed. You know that after you retire, when you screw up real bad, you won't have to eat crow anymore. Years ago, Dad had a large breakfast of wheat bran with Metamucil chaser. And after his throne meditation, he started feeling his oats. He came in and found out that, of course, times were hard. We were on a downslope in morale. It was tough. More like falling down an elevator shaft. So he chartered Gene and me to make the town meeting more personable. So we could help brighten up what usually is real boring. Sorry, I'm not supposed to say that. He wanted really let people know that he wasn't bad. His staff made him. I'm sorry. Anyway, I could never figure out why he always picked on me. Always picked on me to do something. So there I was sitting in Ed's office, slumped down in a chair, and Gene had a Lackman's cafeteria tablecloth wrapping it around my head. And what was born on that day was none other than claim to fame was that he could read through paper without looking through the paper. So, to help things along, Jerry would ask everybody to submit their questions on a piece of paper, on a card, put it in an envelope, put it in the box. Jerry would collect them up, and when it was time, we'd give the package of envelopes to Ed. Or actually, Karnak, sorry. So he would collect them, and he would start reading them in front of 200 people. And he would go, the answer is, in your dreams, Jack. Ed, how big is the merit pool this year? Second one was, when hell freezes over. When are they going to start remodeling the mods? Learn to love nature. What are we going to do about the rats in the ceiling? Lackman Special. Question is, why don't we see the little pig families anymore? Another one. This is a new one. The view at the top. What was the best part of seeing Gene's legs every day? Oh my God, undog me. Hi honey, this is Linda. I'm leaving now. What's for dinner? No more Burger King receipts. What's the best thing about not having to travel back and forth to Hartford? Look at all that dirty stuff on the network. What do you do when Linda goes to work? Look Can the skills you have honed in your career benefit you in any other profession? Well, I've got to call it quits. So I'll say I've enjoyed the tenure working with you. It's been a lot of fun. The fun, the foibles, the good times, the not so good times, the broken water mains, the backed up sewers, torn carpets, leaky ceilings, ants, locusts, possums, mice, rats, raccoons, and bozos we've all had to deal with through the years. Even all this, it was a lot of fun. I know we've been having a lot of fun at your expense tonight, and that's really the way it ought to be. Finally, since I picked on your pipe smoking so much, I'd like to have you come up and get this little remembrance of all our chuckles tonight. Many thanks, and God bless.
Where's Galloway? I'm worried.
Should be, Ed.
Here's your very own. Whoa!
Thank you, Bob.
Got built a new room with it.
I know.
Our next invited guest is from Connecticut. The person's had the pleasure of serving on Ed's staff in Connecticut, so I guess there's some relief there, and distance does have some value in this case, and not always being able to attend the meetings and face-to-face. John Roberts insisted on being here, even after we said, we had enough guests for this evening, John. And, you're welcome to stay in Connecticut. And he insisted on coming down and wanted to share the Connecticut experiences and the Connecticut viewpoint of working for Ed and the pleasures that they've had. The fact that it's February in Connecticut, of course, had nothing to do with the fact that he wanted to come down here and new travel budget be damned. John is here, so thanks, John. Come on.
I learned a lot tonight. One of the things they told me, that everybody knows that I have a tendency to ramble, but I don't think there's any problem here tonight. And Ralph Corey, that was I learned a lot there too. We're actually down here, there's several of us from the north who are having an on-site meeting. And when Ralph Corey was talking about going to Costco and disguise and that sort of thing, reminded me today, we're talking about the budget, travel budget being reduced, and I hope that this doesn't get back to Joe T, because this might be one of the ways that he'll have us reducing the travel budget when we come down here. Go to Costco for lunch. Anyway, I've had the pleasure of, and it's been a pleasure of knowing Ed for many years. I think it must be at least 20. And I can remember the first time that it was back, I was working for John Horrocks in East Hartford, and Erwin Mendelson was running the engineering department at the time. And we were embarking on a new way to do some of our technical work. And Erwin wanted Florida and East Hartford to work together. So we all came to Florida to meet each other, and before we left, Horrocks gave me the job. He said, "Who is this guy Preti?" He didn't really know, and he gave me the job of kind of finding out how Florida did business and this kind of thing. And I talked to my friend Bob Abernathy and found that Ed had this long history of working in rockets and was an extremely bright and intelligent man. And we put together teams from East Hartford and Florida, and we tried to make the whole department work together. Now, at that time, Ed ran Florida and John Horrocks ran Hartford. And we would have meetings much like the one we have today, but at that time there were two bosses. And remember, one of the things we did when we had these off-site meetings is, in East Hartford, was a terrible thing because it was a contest between John and Ed to have the best, flashiest brochure, is the way it worked out. And we spent as much time working on putting the covers together with colors and this kind of thing as we did getting the technical content together. But we went on and we successfully put together the performance centers in Florida and the performance centers in East Hartford. And Florida had it all put together long before we did, and we learned much from them. And the fellow down here at that time was Ernest Borgmeyer, I think, yeah. And Ed always had a very, very good relationship with him. He was able to. I always admired Ed for he was able to work with MIS. You know, I mean, it started with Clarence Borgmeyer, and later on, I learned more about his ability to do this. I think that happened several years later. I had the opportunity and the first day I got here, I found out that it was going to be part of my job to convince somebody that the turbine was 8 or 10 points deficient, you know, and I couldn't believe it. I thought they would put me on. Okay. I mean, this is one of the best jobs I ever had. Well, I spent the next several months listening to all of things and putting together what could go wrong, being part of the team. And actually, that was one of the best jobs I ever had in my career. And I think it's when I learned to appreciate all the talents that Ed did have because he directed that group. I was assigned a seat in the mods, kind of over in the corner with a fellow from the Air Force, Frank Savina. And my job was to work with Frank and work with the team and solve this problem. And we were kind of apart from the regular group. And Ed was always over there, and I figured, you know, I always needed to be there and be on my toes. But after I'd been there a week or so, I found out that the MIS people were right next, and I realized that Ed was coming over to ensure that our dealings with MIS were under control, you know, that they were on my side. And then about 2 or 3 months later, I realized that, of course, the MIS leader was Linda. I'm not very quick, but later on, Ed, of course, became the leader of both the North and the South. And one of your jobs, of course, was to put the North and the South together because there was a certain competitive relationship between the two, which is good, and there probably still is. But Ed was very successful in doing that. In fact, I think one of the most obvious and clear examples of that is occurring here today. If this party had occurred 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, I wouldn't be here talking to you. I consider, you know, having one of 20 speakers at your party from the North a true measurement of your accomplishment. In all seriousness, having worked for Ed has been a pleasure, and I think that one of Ed's characteristics, mottos, mantras is treat other people the way he would want to be treated. I've heard him say that, and a lot of people say that. But I think with Ed, it's true. He means it. He really does it. And I'd just like to say for myself and also from the North that we do appreciate your leadership, and I'm very happy that you're retiring and I truly will miss you. I promise not to ramble, and I'll leave well.
Thank you, John. That was great, and much shorter than I'd been led to believe it was going to take. You did real well.
Just lies, all lies.
Our next speaker is a very long time Ed Preti acquaintance, and the first one this evening that doesn't actually work at Pratt Whitney. Steve Walker used to work at Pratt Whitney back in the late 60s and early 70s, but he wasn't your typical engineer, probably a little brighter than most of them, because he quit and went to law school. Now, not to say that Steve's done well, but his boat would probably accommodate everyone in the room. So I know he's had a very close and very personal relationship with Ed over the years, and the reason I can say that at Steve's third wedding, Ed was there, and one of the leaders of a thing called a necktie fertility dance. Well, everyone thought that old Stevie was over the hill, but this thing worked. So we know that Ed works in mysterious ways, and we have, now what, how old is your son? 2? 2.5? So don't get Preti angry at you, because some very strange things could happen to you. So Steve's going to share with us tonight the other side of Preti.
Thank you, Tom. Listening to the other speakers here, I'd say you all know him pretty well, because he treats his friends just like he treats his staff. So. I first met Ed in 1969. I left in 1972, and on and off the years, we've maintained a relationship for the last 30 years as friends. So when I was first asked to speak to you all tonight, my first thought was, what could I say that would be relevant to a group of Pratt people? This is the first time I've been around a Pratt group of this size almost in 30 years. So I got a little panicky that I might not know what to say, or might not say anything you'd find interesting about it. So being a modern sort of guy, what I did was I decided I'd go take a look at the internet, see what I could find out about Ed Preti. And first thing I did was enter Ed's name into the computer, and I was looking for an address search to find out, just how many Ed Pretis are there in the world. And you'd be surprised to know that the entire group of Ed Pretis in the world are in this room tonight. I sat over at that table. I was amazed and shocked to find out that it's such an uncommon name. There are 2 Edmundo Pretis living in Verona, Italy. But I really suspect that's Ed and his dad. So clearly I needed to broaden my search terms to come up with a more broader search. So I just tried Preti, and I was surprised to be inundated with thousands of hits. Unfortunately, virtually all of them were written in Italian. A number of them contained what I thought were probably pretty juicy words, things like mafioso, pedophilia, things like this and the like, which I thought really would have revealed a lot about Ed and his ancestry that would have been very interesting to all of you tonight. Unfortunately, Ed flatly refused to translate any of them for me, so we may never really know the deep, dark secrets of the Preti history. So facing the reality that I really didn't have any good dirt on Ed, I thought what I would do is rely upon my memory, and what I couldn't remember I would simply make up. So, question for my speech tonight is, who is Ed when he's not at work? Well, it's still an issue at work. But you can see when you're all working at Pratt, because you're surrounded by so many engineers, and you sort of fall into the mindset of engineering, and that engineering behavior becomes the same normal to you. So when you get away from Pratt for an extended period of time, you really begin to notice the peculiar habits and idiosyncrasies that are characteristics of the true engineers. If I can sum up for Ed, those characteristics are that he shows an abundance of confidence that you can actually make sense of the world through linear thinking. Doesn't matter whether it's disciplining the dog, romancing a woman, or hanging drywall, the approach to problem solving is always the same with Ed. We've got a problem? No problem. We simply take the solution to the last problem, we'll make it a little bigger, or we'll make it a little smaller. This overconfidence also makes Ed an expert. An expert in all things, in all professions, trades, and skills. Ed is happy to share his expertise with others. So much so that Linda wouldn't let him retire until their home was remodeled because the workmen were threatening to charge them more if it helped. It's the meaning to the phrase, I can't afford to retire, doesn't it? When your workmen actually cost you more if you stay home with them. One of the other characteristics of Ed as a friend is that Ed is frugal to a fault. His attitude is, I can do it better and cheaper myself. Better yet, I can get my friends to do it for me. I can supervise. That would be the best use of my expertise as an expert and save me money. Now, listening to all these remarks tonight about Ed, I'd like to see a show of hands. How many of you feel that at some point in time, Ed has roped you into doing something for him? Okay? In my case, it's free legal advice. And I wish I could give you a bill for all the free legal advice I've given you over the years. The worst part of it is you've never actually taken any of it. I suppose that has to do with your position as an expert. You probably have. His expertise also extends to interior decorating. As many of you know, Ed and Linda have undertaken a major renovation of their home. Ed has actually been heard to say to Linda, any color you like, honey, as long as it's brown. It's practical, it doesn't show dirt, and I can do it myself and save a lot of money. I don't want to leave you with the impression, though, that Ed's not a fun guy. In fact, we've done a lot of things together over the years, and actually, when I first met Ed, he was a lot more fun at work than he appears to have been in later years in his career. As a matter of fact, not only was he fun, but he was very athletic as well. And back then, we would sort of wait till second shift, and Ed would begin to show his athletic prowess and the fun side, let his hair down. And many of us still marvel at the speed and agility, the hand-eye coordination that Ed showed at those long, otherwise tedious evenings in the tube room. In honor of that memory, we have for you a special edition autographed Wilson book. Very own. Ed, if you come up here for your...
A lot of people don't know what this is.
Essentially a wad of masking tape that kind of grew over the course of time, and with the boring nights we were waiting for the computer to run the next set of runs, we'd sort of bat this thing around in the computer room. And Ed became very good at it until his supervisor found it and decided we needed to retire the Wilson. Open it up.
Now, what you have to understand is we had the only terminal in the place, the IBM 2250, and we had this table here. Of course, we'd be working 2 to 3 a.m. in the morning. You know, as a matter of fact, I worked Super Bowl Sunday on the Jets' first week of Colts, and I snuck in a radio and the guards getting all kinds of but this Wilson, this is a different time, Hansel, man. But this Wilson was, it was kind of, we used this table as a net. We kind of played volleyball. We also walk around the parking lot with this thing. But this is Wilson, if anybody wants to pass around. I want it back, though. I want my Wilson back.
Thank you, Ed. I'd be remiss to you tonight if I didn't tell you that I've had a lot of benefits from Ed's expertise as well. As Tom has mentioned to you, Ed is a world-renowned fertility god. In fact, the very night my son was conceived, Ed was there. Just think, if it were not for that Thai fertility dance that Ed so expertly performed on my wedding day with others in this room who will go unnamed for the moment, I wouldn't be a 50-year-old guy with a 2-year-old child. Later, Ed, I think, realized the change he brought in my life and sought to rectify what he perceived to be the root of the problem. On my 50th birthday, he employed his prestigious and heretofore unknown surgical skills by giving me a vasectomy. Now, Ed has nothing but, if he's not thorough, no little snip-snip type of vasectomy. You know, he saw it as a much larger problem that required much more radical surgery. The good news is that I'll never need Viagra. I recently asked to audition for the Vienna Voice Choir. All kidding aside, with the one expertise that Ed brings, and he is truly an expert in this, is that I value the most, is Ed is a great friend. Ed knows how to be a great friend. All the times I've known Ed for 30 years, he's been steadfast and loyal. He has a genuine affection for people, and is infectious, and we all need to catch it from him. Ed, Sharon, and I wish you the best in retirement, and we're looking forward to a lot more fun, a lot more friendship, and many good times to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. What Steve forgot to mention relative to the free legal advice, Steve's expertise is environmental law. That never bothered Ed, though. I mean, what the problem was, back to Steve's point, in terms of just expanding the scope of the signs. Environmental law, law is law. Who cares what the expertise is? Our next invited, I guess she's invited, guest is Linda Preti, and Linda will be leading an event I can best describe as All in the Family.
Every career has certain tools that are associated with it. And with the engineering, can you hear me? No. As most of you are aware, every career has certain tools that are associated with it. The engineering executive's toolbox is a briefcase. This has been Ed's briefcase for the last 30 plus years. And it's the traditional black leather briefcase. And you can see on the briefcase, well, I can, those in the back can, he has his initials embossed in gold, EP. Remember the middle initial? Well, I don't think he needs this anymore. But there is something that we think he could use for his new career and to keep his tools in it. Ed, will you please come up here?
No.
Now, the nice thing about this apron is, as you can see on the front, just so Ed feels at work while he's at home, we have EP embroidered on the top of his apron.
Now you.
Something you can learn to do shortly. Do you have something for Ed? What's that?
This is Ed's honey-do list.
My, it's pretty long, isn't it? Well, what are some of the things that Ed gets to do while he's at home?
First thing is, he gets to dust the furniture and everything.
Okay. Well, let's see if we have something to help out now. We need to confirm. This is a feather duster, for some of you that might not recognize them.
Also be used for other things.
Now, Ed, these pockets are specially designed to hold your tools, so you have to take your hand out of there. There you go. Oh, look! There's another dusting apparatus in here. This is the ultimate duster, and I know it's real good. Not from personal experience, mind you, but the rapper said so. You can have to step a little closer here.
So many people, it's terrible around here.
Now, John, what else does Ed have on his honey-do list?
Well, with all the new floors we have now, Ed gets to clean the floors.
Clean the floors. Yes, we put miles of tile in our house and it's white. Let's see what we have.
I want to go down.
A scrub brush. That'll work just fine. Wait, I think we're missing something. A toothbrush. This is when you're on your hands and knees cleaning the grout. What else does Ed have to do, John?
Well, Ed gets to do all our dirty laundry.
Laundry. There must be something in here. A laundry stick. No more ring around the collar. You know, Ed loves to wear these Tommy shirts, and just so they look nice and crisp, we have lots of spray starch for them. What else does he get to do, John?
Well, he gets to wash the dishes.
Dishes! Oh, okay. Latex hand saver gloves. Got to keep that manicure looking nice. Yeah, sure. Okay, John, what else?
Well, he gets to clean the bathroom.
The bathroom. Good thing we got you those gloves, isn't it? Ah, a tidy bowl brush. You are going to be busy, and you're looking pretty spiffy here. What else, John?
And now he gets to do all our shopping for the week.
Shopping, you get to go to the grocery store. Oh, look, you can clip the coupons on Thursday and then organize them in your nifty little organizer.
He also gets to do all the cooking at home.
Oh, after a hard day, we do need a big meal when I get home. Let's see. A no-cook pasta sauce book. At least he won't get burnt.
That's your problem.
And here's a wooden spoon. We don't want those sauces to stick. Oh, I need to point something out, don't I? You know, at Pratt Whitney, all the guys have a uniform that consists of a pocket on the front. And this pocket is very important to them. The women are all very jealous of this pocket because they get to store all their things in it. Pens, pencils, badges, and just so Ed feels at work at home, we got him a specially designed apron with a pocket. Very nice, Ed. Let's see what else we have. Oh, we do have another thing in here. Yes. You know, the holidays are just over, and we all loved baked goods. And this is a candy thermometer.
I thought it was a different type.
This is for when you make us homemade candy canes and other baked goods. And you sure do look swell, and you're gonna be busy.
Actually, half of these things can be used for sexual.
Is there anything else there for you, John?
Mom, there's only one more thing in this bag. It's your initials embroidered in gold. We could recycle Ed's briefcase by putting your initials over his. Then you'd have a little toolbox too.
You get to go to Connecticut.
There's something wrong with this picture. Okay, Eddie and Kelly, do you want to come up now?
Stay right there.
Nope.
Can I take some of this stuff off? No. I can't take my apron off?
I'd like to start with a little gift that Kelly and I have for you. It's your new hat that you're going to be wearing. Retire, but rehire. Chief Executive Officer in charge of all honeydews. President in charge of frequent napping and coffee breaks.
Is that true, Hansel?
Senior Vice President of Traveling and Sightseeing. You're probably tired of that. Director in charge of observing sporting events. Executive Vice President of all assorted hobbies. World-renowned piddler extraordinaire. Yeah, it's a little small. They're out of the larges. I think that as you get retired, the heads get a little bigger or something. Yeah, you can go. You look good.
Typical Pratt Whitney executive.
Ready for a step?
It's coming.
Whoops, you forgot your glove.
Oh, I'm losing all my tools.
Well, as most of you know, Linda's working while Dad is retired at home. So we wrote a little poem done to the theme of green eggs and ham. I'm playing my father.
And I'm playing Linda. Sorry, Linda.
Ed I am, Ed I am.
That Ed I am, that Ed I am.
I really do like being a retired man.
Well, I'm still working, as you can see. Now go away, quit bugging me.
Do you like supporting me?
Of course, my love, it's such a glee.
Well, I don't like retiring alone. Just quit that job and stay at home.
Can't I work just a few more years? I'm sorry, dear, you're bored to tears.
But I need you to keep the house. I'm all alone, just getting soused.
You have Joanne to keep the house. Besides, every man's dream, a working spouse.
But I need you to shop and cook while I'm in the boat fishing for snook.
Now listen here, just because you've got me hooked doesn't mean I shop and cook. Go call your son to fish for snook.
Would you, could you, if I took you away?
I would not if you took me away. I would not no matter what you say. Now go away. I have bills to pay.
Would you if I bought a yacht? Would you if I jogged a lot?
I would not if you bought a yacht. I would not if you jogged a lot. I would not if you took me away. I would not no matter what you say. I must still work, can't you see? Now go away, quit bugging me.
Would you if we cruised the world? If I bought you even more, diamonds and pearls.
Not for the world, not for pearls, not for a yacht, not for jogging a lot. I would not if you took me away. I would not quit no matter what you say.
Would you, could you just let them be? The hell with Pratt, come be with me.
Yeah, what a life how you spend your days while I'm not working like a slave. You eat and sleep and lay around, then take naps and sleep so sound. Cocktails at noontime every day, doing everything your own way. You bug your father and your son too. Heck, you got nothing better to do. Track investments that lose, although you were good in the past, it must be the booze. You used to fish, yeah, those were the days. Now it's too much trouble, so lounging's your new phase.
All my friends tease me because I have a young wife who works. Linda, you do everything to support me. I feel like a jerk. I've gained 8 inches in my waistline. Aren't you so proud of me? Come on, retire. Look how fat we can be.
Okay, if you'll let me be, one of these days I'll think about it, you'll see. For now you deserve this retired life. Plus you have me, the awesome wife. This is what I've always dreamt of, working for my man. But never forget, I'll always be your biggest fan.
Dad, we're so proud of you. Enjoy your retirement. You deserve the best. You're very successful, and we're very proud of you. Now I'd like to introduce my brother's wife, Kelli.
She's from New York, too.
Well, kind of like Mr. Walker, being from work and being from home, I tried to tailor my little speech to appeal to all, but to set the scene, this is, I'm sure every one of you has always wanted to have, well, let me back up. What I'm going to say is kind of when we first met, and then our first trip together. And he can be kind of intimidating if you want to put on, you want to cross all your T's and dot all your I's, and you're going to marry his son. And so this is kind of how it went. And I call him the General. Let's go back a little ways to the first time your son took me home to stay. You and Linda were sitting on the porch, and we walked out to join you, and this was your retort. Cammie, that's your name? Nice of us to meet, but son, she's so big and has brown hair. Oh, please take a seat. Linda saw the horror that must have been on my face. Ed, was her reply, Cammie's at a new place. From that day on, I knew the General was not shy. He said what he meant, and there was no room for lies. A new respect was born, and then to my surprise, I was invited to go bugging. A big Preti honor is all that I could surmise. They called it vacation in the Florida Keys, and I thought, wow, I'm just so pleased. What a relaxing week we'll have of sun and fun, but the realization I would have had not even begun. We all arrived late the first night to Marathon Key, and before getting tucked into bed, I heard what was so hard to believe. This is all true. I swear. Well, I'll be up at 6, the general commanded, to start our day. Don't worry about alarms, the bugle will sound the way. Bugle, I thought to myself, and truly did not believe, and went to bed dreamily of my vacation and ease. When I was suddenly awoken by, what? A bugle? Oh yes. It was 5:59 a.m. and there would be no more rest. We were summoned down to grub, then we showered in the tub. We're on the boat before our eyes awoke and off to search for bugs. The general was barking orders, and us we did oblige. My dreamy vacation of relaxation and ease was swallowed by the tide. By the third day of this, I was a bit fatigued, and the bugle came too early. I refused to rise from my bed and requested sick bay duly. Everyone was worried, but I said, oh, go on. I know I can handle it here. When I heard the boat humdrum moan, I knew that I was in the clear.
I'll wear them next year, Kelli.
I spent the day by the pool, reading and relaxing away. Then I saw the crew coming from afar. They had reached their limit for the day. The general chimed, oh, my son explained to me what you say most people do on vacations. I guess that I shouldn't expect from you what I have trained my sons for bugging perfection. I said, your idea of relaxing can be compared to the colors black and white. But if I continue at your rate, work come Monday, I will feel trite. So before we knew it, the week came and went, and we had to say goodbye. But I will never forget all the fun we had. General Preti isn't all that bad of a guy. In fact, he's one of the most honest and respectable men I know. He's my new dad, and I couldn't be happier to boast. Happy retirement to you, but I assume, once again, retirement probably means something totally different to you than to most men. More. I love you dearly and hope retirement brings you happiness galore.
The Preti clan, who's going to get up here and say something real quickly. What I'm going to try to do is paint the picture of Pop, because we all know Ed Preti from Pratt Whitney, and Steve Walker did a good job of trying to paint that picture, but now we're going to get into the family side. And I want you to tell me whether you could assimilate this to some of the actions that happen in the work world. Two specific themes we're going to talk about is, the first one is delegation. And so when I'm talking about this, I want you to picture being in the famous staff meeting that we've talked about all night, and try to picture Dad now in these shoes at home. I called him, he's retired, I called him a few days, maybe a few weeks ago, and I asked him, actually let's play the work delegation. You're in a staff meeting, and I heard it's analogous to drinking water out of a fire hydrant when Dad's in those staff meetings, and I think everyone verified that tonight from what I've heard. Well, let's take that role and do 180 degrees and be now Dad at home. 2 weeks ago, I called him, and I was like, Dad, you're retired now. Why don't you go on the net and check out the stock for me? I'm pretty busy, and I just don't have time to do it. And he's like, damn, Chris, between you and everyone else, I don't have time to do anything. Nothing at all. It's like this retirement thing's a joke. And now let's think about the beard. Y'all saw my dad with the beard, but you don't know the true story of the beard. There's actually a reason why he has that beard. I asked him when I came home, when Kelli and I came home a few days ago, I said, Pop, you're growing a beard. He's like, Chris, I haven't had time to even shave. His words exactly. So it's amazing how he can just do the 180 from work to home. Let's do another scenario. Let's do the performance planning. So imagine now you're doing the performance plan for Ed Preti at work. He has these expectations of you. So you lay out what your objectives are, short-term and long-term. The one-year plan, you go into his office, and it's pretty clear. You meet these objectives, and you're going to be compensated based on these objectives. Now let's go to the other side. Dad's performance plan for retirement. And tell me if you had this, Ralph Corey, tell me if you had this similar plan of what you're going to do when you retire. This is his actual list of things he's going to do once he retires. Exercise. Dad, I gotta ask you this. Since January 1st, how many times have you put on a pair of running shorts and taken a jog? A jog.
Running shorts?
Actually, I shouldn't give you a chance to say anything. You're not gonna steal this shit. Second, stop smoking. We can see from some of the gifts tonight that that's another thing that he hasn't yet achieved. Gourmet cooking. Foreign language. He wanted to learn a foreign language.
Gourmet cooking was Linda.
Travel, fishing and boating, and